I just watched Poor Things yesterday, and I gotta say, I was not impressed. I low-key hated this movie with a burning passion. Imagine a movie that combines something like Barbie but takes out all the fun and all of the jokes, keeps the stupid feminist message, and then combines all of that with a movie made by Tim Burton. But this is not just any movie made by Tim Burton. This is one that's made by his evil twin brother with BPD, and instead of trying to make a good movie, he just makes it into a softcore BDSM porno, and also slips in some dumb socialist message into it. But more than all of that, this movie is depraved. Now trust me when I say, normally I would never describe a movie as being depraved. But honestly, by the time this movie was over, I was left with a really bad taste in my mouth. Before I get into what makes it depraved, let me describe the plot a little bit first. It's the life cycle of a whore. So, the movie is about a woman who is betrothed to be married, runs away with a guy she barely knows who is rich. Her father, aka God, aka Dr. Frankenstein 2.0, makes no protest because he's a weak piece of shit, and her fiancé also tries to stop her, and then he gets knocked out by her as she escapes because he's also a weak piece of shit. On this journey, she discovers alcohol and becomes an alcoholic. When she discovers that poverty exists, she tries giving the rich guy's money who she ran away with to the poor without asking him because she's dumb and it doesn't matter because it gets stolen anyway. So not only is she dumb, she's also very naive. Then, because she and the guy that she ran away with have no money, she starts whoring herself out for money because she's dumb and thinks she knows nothing else until she realizes, oh wait, I still know how to do surgery. So, she goes back home because she doesn't want to whore herself out anymore, and also her creator is dying or whatever. I know that's really reductive of the story, and there's more to it after that, but I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, and also I don't care. Besides, the plot of this movie makes no sense, and even if it makes sense, it just feels chaotic. And like I said, on some level, the movie is depraved. And the way I just described it in that really reductive way, that's how I felt like the story was told to me. And now I think I need to talk a little bit more of just how messed up and depraved the premise of this movie is, or at least the content within it. So, to add a little bit more context to this, I do need to describe the plot just a bit more. So the movie is about a girl, emphasis on girl, named Bella Baxter. This is the name given to the girl who has the body of an adult, but the brain of a child. This woman's body that she is in committed suicide while pregnant. The woman did not survive, but the baby inside was still alive. So, the surgeon God basically aborts the child, removes the brain from the baby, and puts the brain of the child into its mother. I don't know about any of you hearing this, but personally, I feel uncomfortable even talking about this. And even if you don't find that to be weird, then think about this then. The body of the adult with the child's brain is having sex with many, many men throughout this movie. I think that most of us would find it messed up if someone was having sex with a mentally retarded female when they don't understand what it is that they're doing. So why are we okay with this idea of an adult man having sex with someone who has the mind of a 5-year-old child? And if not a 5-year-old child, then fine, a 10-year-old child. I'm sorry, but to me that's weird. And it feels like they're trying to cross the line into pedophilia. But outside of that, there's one deeply disturbing part of the movie that I thought was entirely messed up. There's a part where a man takes his 2 sons with him to demonstrate with Bella how to have sex. Let me repeat that. A man takes his 2 sons with him to let them watch as he has sex in front of them. And look, I know this is to illustrate a point to the audience that the world itself is depraved, but for the love of God, do we need to show such depravity on screen? I don't understand why anyone would be even remotely entertained by this movie. Rather, I see the audience as being made to feel extremely uncomfortable, which is exactly what I felt all throughout the middle of the movie. Truthfully, I don't want to watch people having sex on screen. I feel like that is such a cheap cop-out for entertainment nowadays. Partly because in Citizen Kane, we get the idea that Charles Foster Kane was cheating on his wife from the simple fact that he went into the apartment of a woman that he was not married to. And also, let's take this one for instance. One of the greatest animes of all time is the anime from the 90s, Berserk, because Kentaro Miura worked on that. But also, one thing I do want to say about Berserk, not just in terms of the anime, but also in terms of the manga, is the fact that every time there's something that is happening on the page or on the screen that is sexual in nature, it feels like there is a point to it. Nowadays, I just feel like when you see sex on screen, there's never really much of a point to it. There was this feeling that I had going into this movie that I decided to ignore. The feeling that I had was correct, and that was that the movie was going to make me a little bit uncomfortable. But more than that, I was actually squirming in my seat as I watched this. Why are we okay with showing explicit things like this on screen, like adults having sex? Why are we okay with showing such explicit sexual content like this on screen now? Why is the MPAA not rating movies like this NC-17? Because that is what the rating of this movie should have been. Lastly, I do want to add this. I feel that this was just a cynical movie towards men. It doesn't have any male characters in it that are good, and the ones you do have are Willem Dafoe and Rami Youssef, both of whom, like I said earlier, are weak pieces of shit. At least in Barbie, you can ignore it because the movie at its core is just a dumb, enjoyable flick. But this is just a cynical, weird, and vile movie. And also, I just want to say this last thing. I didn't want to dislike this movie. I was actually kind of looking forward to seeing it. I was actually kind of looking forward to seeing it when I saw the first trailer for it. Plus, I also have to say this. There were aspects of this movie that I did enjoy. For instance, I enjoyed the costume design, the set pieces, and just the artwork of the whole thing was excellent. The design of the ship that they went on, the trains on the cables when they went to Portugal, among other things. The use of color was also very cool. But imagine my shock that a movie that is meant to garner awards from the Academy is some weird, gross feminist message. Poor Things gets 1 star out of 5.